But could you firstly describe the planet's situation concerning the global warming?
It's not good. It's not good. This year, for the first time, we crossed the 1 degree warming level. So 1 degree Celsius warming. That means that the average temperature increased by 1 degree compared to pre-industrial age.
What kind of a world are we putting children into, and is it too late to avoid this disastrous future that some people are talking about?
It's never too late, but our generation, is in a special situation, a special position. We can blame our fathers and grandfathers for emitting so much CO2 into the air. But actually, if we take a look, they didn't really have a choice in many cases. And the only thing they wanted to do is to increase our standard of life. We have the choice. We know the consequences of taking no action. So our generation, people who take decisions at the moment or who can influence decisions at the moment, they have a special responsibility that people before us and probably that people after us will not have anymore. People before us didn't have the options to deal with climate change, and people after us will probably have, it will just be too late to take too much action. So in this situation, it's just the perfect timing. There's also the issue of intergenerational responsibility. And the main problem is that we left too much to the markets. We left too much to the free market, to capitalism, which is working in many cases. However, the main issue with the free market is that it doesn't really include the costs of our behavior, of our action for the future generations. This needs to be taken care of. The responsibility for the future generations. And this is not something that the free market is going to solve. This is something where we need action, where the leaders have to take action, but where the mainstream, when the population as well, have to think about when they make decisions, when they go and vote for certain politicians, for certain parties. Now all oil is cheap. That will change. It's just like getting a cheap drug or almost drug for free to a junkie, and we are the junkies on oil. So there will be a point in time when the price of oil will increase again, and people that do not really share our values, that do not really like the way we live, they will use the money, and they will use the failed states to have an impact on our lives. This is already happening.
But I'm thinking also that I'm young, I'm still quite free to make investments in whatever. Could there be a hope also in the new generations who could, in the parts of the world where we are now, in Germany, in Denmark, and countries like that new generations could invest in this transition?
That's a very important point. The transition will not happen without us, and investing money is one thing. Investing your time is even much more important, because we need solutions. We need plenty of new solutions that we don't have at the moment. We need to make the system intelligent, the power system intelligent. We need to make it resilient to external threats as well. We need to create a completely new infrastructure that's much more flexible. We're talking about demand management. We're talking about people who will be able to react to different prices on the stock exchange, on the power prices. We need to understand the social consequences of the transition. We're talking about energy transition, but we're not talking about the social transition, about people who will lose their jobs because they've been working for the coal industry in the past. We have to understand the new generations have to contribute to finding social solutions as well, to these groups of people. That's challenging, but there is plenty to do.
I'm living a life where I'm partly like living on a distance from climate change and from all this knowledge that you must be confronted with and working with every day. So I presume that you are much closer to the climate change consciousness, let's say it like that. And how do you feel on a personal level about the future of this planet?
So the civilization will survive, but it may not be civilization that you may be proud of, or next generations may be proud of us handling this civilization. I'm just thinking about how will we be perceived in 2050 by the new generation? How they will look back at us? Will they look back and say they failed? They completely failed. The way we looked at the generation of 1914, when they, were cheering that there is a war and everyone's going to defend its nationality, and that's great, right? We look at them like lost generation, and which was not really, which was just stupid. And I don't want our generation, the generation of which is living 2014, 2015, to be looked at in the same way. That there was a huge issue, but they would just continue their life as usual, completely ignoring the consequence of the behavior for us, meaning the future generations. So that's something that we will have to ask ourselves when we meet in Paris.